But they're solid employees.
Alright.
Half the time. The heating's pretty liquid. Pretty fluid.
They get more solid the
Yep.
longer they,
Yep.
stay.
600
You
years.
can make an impression.
Can, at the right time.
And I'm still that young person in my brain, when I see wet mud, I have to resist the urge to go and scratch my initials.
You wanna do someone else's, cause they'll know you were there, you
I'm gonna do yours.
Doug on it.
Yeah. I guess, Townsend.
Yeah, Townsend.
Where's that guy live?
And I tell the concrete foreman on our job site every day, he pours mud, I'm like, he's like, don't even look at it, I'm like, you already know what I'm gonna say, huh? He's like, yeah, you wanna put your handprints in it, I'm like, yeah, damn right I do.
Just once.
Just in one corner.
So that they know I was here for 100 years.
1,000 years from now.
Mr. Crush. Yes, sir.
Who's trying to survive, man? Let's go.
Yeah. Tread water.
Right here.
Yeah. Actually, I can't complain. Life's been Yeah. No, I'm doing pretty good. Life's good. Yeah. Well, I gotta get up there so I can hear.
I think they figure the fuse. I mean, you're gonna have to train.
Right,
Eat L streets.
right.
I'm just dreaming.
Did I see you with a big load of firewood yesterday coming down here or something?
Yes.
Trucks.
That's what happens when you got wore out springs.
That's a pretty big load of wood too.
I had it loaded down
Yeah,
there.
you did.
Yeah. Yep. How's that going? No rest for the looking?
And the righteous don't need it.
You're never really off work.
No.
Just other work to be done.
That's right.
That's what wicked.
Right, just moves on to the next.
Yeah.
No, you're done, no?
Sometimes you gotta go to work to take a little break.
Right? That's right. That's right. Yeah. Good deal. Only missing one so far?
Getting ready to go.
Oh, she's just. Sure. It's not bad. About a minute and I can get some water. Your sidewalk looks really good, by the way.
Thanks. It's just that others worship that bother me because it's not all the same. So my LCD is like, that's old, this is new, it's not the same.
There's a really old one we put there on the boundary. I know what that is.
If I got hard, the warranty's on.
I'm pretty,
Yeah, by the
I'm
way.
pretty sure Nate's trucks dumped a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff in my yard.
I did, 3 loads.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, who knows?
Oh, stone. The
Oh,
one load
stone.
stone from.
Okay.
Call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any public comment about anything that is not on the agenda tonight, that's under the city's jurisdiction?
Do I qualify for public comment? I don't know if I'm on the agenda.
You are on the agenda.
Hannah Rouser.
Yes. Okay, council has received the minutes from the October 1st, 2024 meeting. Are there any corrections or additions?
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes of October 1st, 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, Hannah, you're up.
Yay. Just wait right there, okay? I'm right here. So I'm Hannah Rouser. Never been to a city council meeting, so I'm sorry. So I've been in contact with the Dolans and the Horns. They used to have the ice rink, but I think it was down at the pool park for the longest time. So I decided to take over it since they don't do it anymore. And so I think I've got enough people to help me set it up, take it down, and maintain it during the year, during the small frozen enough season to do it. And then I actually got Mr. Eric Crush's blessing to help me fill it up. So now I think the last thing on my list is just to get it approved by the city council.
And the location will be in Holloway Park? Is that-
In the soccer park, as requested last year.
Which would be Holloway Park.
Yes, I am very bad at those things.
The
Thank
skate
you.
park, the skate
Yes,
park park?
there you go.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Yes. Are there any questions from council?
When would it be set up?
I'm hoping, depending on the weather, it would need to be a really hard freeze. So snow is not ideal, especially for setting it up. Snow afterwards is fine. But to set it up, they said to get it anywhere from 10 to anywhere below 0. They said 10 is a great number to start it at, because nobody wants to be out there with water in the below 0. So as soon as we get a good couple of days where it's forecasted to be pretty cold, especially at night, then we can set it up.
Yes. For the new members on council's benefit, like most of you, last year when Hannah talked to us about it, we basically missed that window of cold weather. And so I suggested that she come to council earlier in the fall, and if there's approval, then we're set to go when the weather conditions are right for it. Correct? Is that-
Yep, that's true.
That matches the conversation you
Yes.
bring forward? Good. Other questions from council? Is there a,
Must
yes,
the soccer goals be moved or taken down?
I don't think so. They're set pretty much at the perimeter anyway, so I think they should be fine.
Eric, do you have any comments?
Nope, I know my kids enjoyed it when I was there.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
With that, is there a motion to, yes, Heather?
So I am in charge of safety at my job, and so that's always the first thing that comes up in my brain. You know, so skate park, I believe everyone kind of polices themselves. But an ice skating rink feels kind of dangerous, you know, with blades on their feet, and kids will be kids, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So how does this town police that?
That is a good question. My understanding is that because it's a park, there's a certain amount of insurance allowed. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily unwritten, but that's my understanding. Previously, nothing has been held up. It gets opened in the morning and closed at night. But I think it is just kind of a please be safe sort of a situation. I know it's
I mean, we
scary.
have lifeguards at the pool, so
Right.
I'm just curious on,
Right,
you know, I mean, most of the kids just roam like they,
Yeah.
you know, it's a great town for that, so
Yeah.
I'm just curious on,
Use of the city parks is always at your own risk.
right.
okay.
And so my son does hockey in Helena, and they have, a kind of a free skate. So whenever stick and puck is around, they have to have a helmet with a face guard. I don't anticipate a whole lot of that. I think it's gonna be mostly just recreational skating, and even there, they don't require you to have a helmet, when you're just doing a free skate.
Okay.
So that was kind of my idea,
I'm just curious.
so, yeah, cause I was worried about the same thing, but.
Peter, would you like to weigh in on this at
Yeah,
all?
yeah, I mean, that's come up in the context of the skate park before. You might remember the discussion. It's basically a state law that when you're using parks like that and doing those sorts of sports activities, the users accept the risk that's inherent in that sport. So, you know, to the extent someone could get cut by a blade ice skating, that's just a risk that you accept, you know, by doing it.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
you know, there would be potential liability concerns if, you know, like say it was set up with like a giant jagged piece of rebar and someone impaled themselves on that, right? And they'd say, well, you know, why was it set up like that? But I think this has been set up a number of times and there's probably not, you know, glaring risks like that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Helena, as far as I know, we've been to the public skate in Helena, just they have one in, I don't know what the name of that park is, but it's they set it up, where the swimming pool is in Helena. And I thought that maybe you would have to sign a waiver and you don't there either. So I don't know if Helena's more strict or more lenient, but.
Mayor,
Yes.
as a point of reference, do we know of any injuries that have occurred in the past that the city knows about?
Not aware of any. Would entertain a motion to approve ice skating rink when the weather conditions are appropriate.
I'll make a motion that we approve the setup of the ice rink when the weather conditions are ideal.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Glide on through, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Am I free
We'll be in contact.
to? Okay, thank you.
No, the rule is when you start the meeting, you have to stay here to the end.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here representing the chamber? Okay,
Mayor, may I make a comment?
absolutely.
I contacted the chamber almost a week ago, asking them what their holdup was. And their holdup was basically, oh, we thought we had more time. They were supposed to pick up an application for the street closure the following morning. That would have been more or less about the 10th, somewhere around there. The only reason Monica and I chose not to do the application ourselves is because the chamber seemed to finally be in motion. That I'm worried at this point that the chamber's not in motion and that we have a fair number of people who are anticipating coming to this event. What would the city recommend in terms of securing a street closure without the chamber's participation?
Carrie, can you weigh in on this?
Yes, Jenny Klaus emailed me on October 8th and asked for the street closure application, which I sent her. I told her I would put her on the agenda for tonight, and the meeting was at 6:30. That was the last I heard from her then.
Could be, we can move on through the agenda and see if she arrives later. Barring that, if council will recall with respect to the request from, it was the school for the homecoming parade. Council authorized the mayor to go ahead and move forward with that as long as the paperwork was in place. Now, we would need to capture council's signatures on the approval form. Could let you know when that comes through, but for the time being, let's see if a chamber person gets here. Have a letter here from the Montana Municipal Interlocal Authority. Dear Mayor Rouser, congratulations. Townsend has received MMIA's award for loss control achievement for third-class cities for the 23-24 fiscal year in the liability program. This award is issued to Townsend as your organization had the lowest incurred dollars in the liability program for the past 5 years when compared to other third-class cities' results. MMIA acknowledged your achievement during our annual business meeting on Thursday, October 3rd, 2024 in West Yellowstone at the Union Pacific Dining Lodge. Unfortunately, no representatives from the City of Townsend were in attendance to accept the award. We will make arrangements to deliver the award to you. Please accept our sincere congratulations on a job well done. I think congratulations go to Eric as Public Works Director, to predecessor Tim, all of the crew members, and to Jenny for being our safety officer, so job well done. Okay, move into the current business. I'm going to drop down to the second item first, the Broadwater County Hazard Mitigation Plan. I spoke with Brittany Willis this afternoon. The hazard mitigation plan document is scheduled to be finalized within the next week or two. Can be presented to council at that time, and you can choose to adopt it or not. As you'll recall, if we don't adopt the county mitigation plan, we will need to do our own, and that is labor and somewhat cost intensive. Are there any comments or questions on that at this point?
Mayor, I've got a couple. First, it's surprising how incomplete this document is. Is there a more recent version?
The group that has put this together has moved forward in completing it. Okay. And Brittany did comment that the hazard mitigation plan document, while it's a county document, she said it's more like it's a small community document. There's a huge hazard in town, we're still part of the county.
And that brings me to my second question.
Okay.
This document is specifically written from the context that the city should have been participating in the program since January of 2022. In fact, there's even a segment of the document where they describe the city of Nyhart having been approached by their county and specifically bowing out of the process. Have we ever been part of this process in the last 3 years?
I believe the city was part of the mitigation plan that was done prior when Mike Conkey was the disaster and emergency services person for the county. He's the one who did the last one.
Is that previous to 2022?
Yes, I believe so.
So in terms of this plan cycle?
This is the first one as far as I know.
I apologize for how blunt this question is, but whose fault is it that the city wasn't informed of their expectation of participation 3 years ago?
I do not know.
Unfortunately, I am a little nervous that we're about to have a document, and you're right, it would be expensive to do this ourselves and foolish to do it ourselves. But I feel like we're about to have a document put on our shoulders that implies a level of both municipal and public participation in the city that never happened, that it obligates us as if it did happen. Heaven forbid we ever have an emergency where somebody would be led to point at this document and ask why the city's not prepared. But this is about to obligate us legally in something that we didn't
Only if
deal
council
with.
adopts it.
I know, I'm just...
I'm just telling you that we have these options, and I appreciate and understand your concerns here. I don't know whether communication from prior mayor was lacking. I don't know whether communication from Broadwater County Disaster Emergency Services was lacking. these are currently the cards we have been dealt.
That's certainly true. Can we be kept as up to date as possible with revisions to this program so that we can at least know what we're getting into when the time of vote comes?
Yes, I will contact Brittany again and see if there's a more recent draft. She did indicate, though, they were in the, like I said, that it would be going final within the next couple of weeks. We'll see if there is a more recent draft.
And I appreciate this, as it stands, the document is so incomplete, there's nothing here I could, in good conscience, vote to accept.
And moving forward, we'll see what we can do to improve those lines of communication. Okay, fire department bylaws.
Hit me.
First of all, job well done.
Well, thank you.
Great improvement. Mayor, I have a few issues, but other than those issues, contingent on those issues, I'd be willing to go forward and make a motion to accept this plan.
I think it would be great if council could hear your issues.
I appreciate it. I have three, the third one's the biggest of the three. The first one is page 13, line 14, referring to, I'll let you turn to page 13.
13, line 14.
Yeah, page 13, 14.
I'm done numbering things for you.
Actually, it's very kind of you to have done this.
Okay.
Okay, it's referring to exceptions in section 4, paragraph G. There is no paragraph G. Section 4 lists no exceptions.
Are you sure that's 13, line 14? Oh, you printed probably funkier than I did.
I have to admit, I was looking at my document on screen and not here. That's easy enough. No, that's true. Oh, okay, lines 9 and 10 in this case. You're right, it did renumber them differently.
Okay.
Okay, so page 13, lines 9 and 10, it says exceptions will follow the guidelines in Article 3, Section 4. Article 3, Section 4 is the very next section, is it not?
No, Article 3 is in the front.
This might be my fault. Which article?
Because remember, Article 2 is officers, Article 3 is... I read that and then reread it and I left it. I didn't correct it for a reason. I wanted you to stumble on it.
It's on page
Thank you.
And there's the
40.
How is that an exception to the probationary state? Following the standard operating guidelines that are in conjunction with the Constitution and bylaws.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just something that is actually part of your guys' ordinances, so I copy and paste it.
Well, frankly,
Yeah, okay, don't
I
do it.
recommend that you delete
Just
that
delete
last
it out?
sentence. Yeah,
Da, da,
on
da.
page, on
Okay,
whatever the page is on this thing.
I got it.
Page 15, line 6, at least I hope it's line 6.
Probably is.
The line says for referral.
That's like line 1.
Is that line 1 now?
Yeah.
My online version
See,
completely
she
renumbered
printed
everything.
it, right? Okay.
I'd recommend replacing that whole line with something like the following. The following is provided for reference only and may not reflect current city ordinances or state law.
Okay, I accept what you do.
Which, because state, federal, and city law take
Change.
precedence over your bylaws.
And we're getting to that. That's the third issue.
Do you vote on that? Do you agree with me? Do you accept? Just vote for me. Thank you.
The third issue are the several lines following that.
Okay.
The simple truth is that the bylaws cannot legally be set above city ordinances or state law.
Okay.
As a consequence, and I'll read this through, but inviting you to delete those lines completely and modify Article 9 as follows. Section 1, which is a new section, called authority. A, should any discrepancy be found between these bylaws, city ordinances, or state law shall take precedence over these bylaws. Where state law permits or does not exist, city ordinances shall take precedence over these bylaws. B, it is expected that members and officers of the Townsend Volunteer Fire Department and members of city government and the public shall receive these bylaws in good faith, and should a discrepancy occur between these bylaws and any city ordinance or state law, time and opportunity shall be granted for the discrepancies to be resolved before taking action, legal or otherwise, against the department. Section 2, the existing Section 1 amendments is renumbered Section 2 and has the addition of a paragraph B. Amendments shall be made to these bylaws from time to time to remain compliant with city ordinances and state law as the department becomes aware of discrepancies. And then finally, a modification to the last section, review, which is now numbered Section 3. Review of the Constitution and bylaws shall be completed at least once every 5 years. Would any council member like to see the notes I just read from? Yeah.
I do have a question for Peter. Because these bylaws also incorporate through reference the National Child Protection Act of 1993, should the language that JB just offered include federal law?
Yeah, if it's a federal act, yeah.
And that's a good point. I had considered trying to make it more wordy with federal law, but
Yeah, I mean,
offhand, I couldn't think of an example where it was a regulation that wouldn't be incorporated by state reference.
I don't know how necessary that is because of how, you know, firm it is of things like that, about, you know, how federal law in that instance overrides. It's not like, you need to necessarily mention it in that, just to make it clear, but, I mean, you can if you want to, but,
What's our legal exposure if we don't?
I really don't think there is, honestly. I mean, it's just,
Nicole?
So VEX, sorry, Peter.
yeah.
VEX follows the National Child Protection Act for their fingerprinting for volunteer systems. So that's still Montana, that's still a state law that they're following and holding to for federal, if we're really worried about the federal part. It's really there to protect the disabled, the elderly, and the children from.
Well, and I suspect that in most instances, most laws that touch on public safety or fire ordinances,
But it,
because it's not constitutionally given to the federal government to care about that, are probably referenced by state law, one way or another anyway. At least
Right.
that's my guess, not
So-
being an attorney.
if you pull up Chris, and who's way too much all that. So if you pull up Chris for the VEX, for the Department of Justice, it'll tell you, cause it's the $20 fee, that when you check it, that you're sending these two fingerprint cards in, it states the National Child Protection Act and blah, 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 Montana. It's also included in our, application, if you guys ever wanna see that. It's as thick as these bylaws.
Thank you. Are there other questions or comments from council members? Peter, have you had a chance to read through the bylaws?
You know, I did look at them quite a while back, and we were actually, Nicole and Sean and I were in communication a few months back. I was trying to get some copies of prior bylaws to kind of judge what was in place before, if anything, and compare them to what they were doing now, and I never did receive a copy of that. I actually was surprised when this was on the agenda a couple weeks ago, because I just hadn't heard back for a while. So yeah, I've read through them. I never did get a chance to, you know, go completely through them like we were initially talking about doing. But you know, not exhaustively like has, you know, JV's done or anything like that. So, are we anticipating a vote on these tonight, or?
You want a chance to read through them?
I mean, it's up to you guys. It's a separate entity, correct? The volunteer fire department? This was one question that I had, was when we were talking about this initially, we're trying to find the organization, you know, what entity this operates under. And I'm not sure that was ever made clear.
City municipal.
Municipal fire
Yeah.
fighting and governed by Title 7, Section 33,
Okay,
Part 41.
where are you referencing that, Mayor?
I'm at if you have the current, you might not have the current version.
I got a
Yeah,
copy.
he does.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so the last page is page 19. Has a list of the statutes.
Okay. Yeah, I think there was some confusion because initially I thought we were dealing with a separate entity that was like the volunteer firefighter relief something, but that ended up turning out to be something else entirely, and I actually just met someone from that.
Oh, the Relief Association?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Association.
something completely different.
Yeah,
This is just for the city fire department?
yeah, okay, so it doesn't have its own separate entity, is what you're saying.
It does not.
Okay. Yeah, I would like a time, just till next meeting to review this, if that's not a big deal to you guys, because since you had contacted me initially. Because I'm not really familiar with, the statutes and what might or might not be permitted as far as bylaws.
Okay, so how about this? I know Nicole and Andrew want this over and done with
Yeah.
so they can get on with their lives. However, I think it's more important that we have the best document possible.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nicole, are there any objections to the modifications that JB has suggested? Okay, Nicole, if you would incorporate those and then email the revised document out to us, we'll have Peter take a look at it from the perspective of balancing against state law, both